When the dishwasher shocked millionaire chefs at midnight, they never saw it coming. The clock struck midnight in a lavish Manhattan penthouse, the kind of place where silver platters glimmered under crystal chandeliers. It was a party the city's elite, clinking glasses filled with the finest champagne, the aroma of truffle oil swirling in the air. But as the laughter echoed through the grand hall, an electric buzz cut through the revelry, causing heads to turn. In the kitchen, the state-of-the-art dishwasher began to tremble, its lights flickering like a warning sign. The million-dollar appliance let out a deafening screech, a metallic wail that silenced the revelers. For a moment, confusion reigned. Chefs, decked in pristine white jackets, exchanged nervous glances, their usual confident swagger replaced by apprehension. What was happening? Circling the dishwasher, they leaned in, their breaths hitching as it emitted a strange, blue glow almost mesmerizing, yet ominous. It was as if it breathed, each pulse growing stronger and more chaotic. "What is that?" a young sous chef whispered, eyes wide. Then, like a horrific magic trick, the electricity surged wildly. The jagged hum intensified, pulsing out pressurized steam that filled the room with a scalding mist. One chef stumbled back, wiping wet curls from her forehead, feeling an icy knot twist in her stomach. The glitzy gathering morphed into whispers of dread. "Did we short-circuit it?" a veteran chef grunted. But deep down, they all sensed it wasn't just a malfunction. There was something truly unsettling about this moment. The guests crowded around, murmuring in half-hearted jest, yet the tension crackled in the air, every eye glued to the bizarre spectacle. Horrified gasps escaped lips, and someone finally shouted, "Get away from it!" But it was too late. With a jarring clang, the dishwasher opened wide, revealing plates that looked more like shrieks of horror than culinary art. Some were scorched, some shattered, as if something dark was unleashed. But what? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads-up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The steam cleared, revealing even more oddities. A lone, burnt spaghetti noodle curled up on the counter. Then, as the chefs moved in cautiously, a deep rumble erupted from the machine. A voice? Was it laughing? Panic seized their hearts, and in the dim light, shadows began to dance eerily on the walls. All the while, the rest of the crowd held their breath. Who would be the first to step closer? What kind of disaster had they stumbled into? Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars in the abyss, blind to the unsettling chaos inside. As panic sketched lines of worry across faces, a sense of something darker loomed, thick and palpable. What else was hiding inside this mechanical beast? What grip did it have on the millionaires who dared to dine with the unknown? The tension was electric, the night far from over, but the answers awaited just out of reach. The room hung heavy with confusion and fear. The laughter that once filled the lavish penthouse faded to whispers, replaced by an unsettling atmosphere. The chef stood frozen, eyes locked on the dishwasher, the so-called beast, as it continued to pulsate ominously. The ghastly remnants of dinner lay scattered around, grotesque revelations from what had been a culinary masterpiece just moments ago. One chef, a tall man with gray streaks in his meticulously slicked back hair, clenched his fists. "What just happened?" he demanded, his voice echoing in the tense silence. "We need to figure this out. This isn't just a malfunction." As if in response, the dishwasher belched another plume of steam, twisting the shadows. The laughter in the room turned into nervous chuckles, half-hearted attempts at humor in the face of something they couldn't comprehend. "Maybe it's haunted," someone squeaked, triggering a sharp shove from another guest who had seen enough horror flicks to recognize bad jokes in the moment. Among the chefs, young Mia took a step forward, her heart pounding against her chest like a warning drum. "This isn't just broken technology. We should open it." The others gasped, glancing at one another in disbelief. Are you crazy? A sous chef retorted, his voice trembling. We don't know what's in there. Against the tide of despair, Mia felt a strange pull, a magnetic draw towards the dishwasher. It called to her, and she could almost hear a voice beneath the buzz, come closer. With shaking hands, she pressed the button to close the jagged maw, but another surge echoed from the appliance, almost laughing, as it refused to comply. Bright blue lights flickered even more violently, casting erratic shadows over the anxious faces. Then came a sound, a soft, almost melodic chime. In a split second, it morphed into a cacophony, drowning out the murmurs. The room burst into chaos as everyone scrambled back. A few guests stumbled, their fine shoes slipping on hot, slick tiles, eyes wide, hearts racing. Mia seized her breath, trying to control her panic. What was this monster capable of? Suddenly, the machine shuddered, and everyone faced it again, frozen like deer in headlights. This time, it didn't just sing, it spoke, deep and formidable. You wished to witness the end of the feast. Mystified and terrified, they listened, their collective breath caught in their throats. Fear twisted into anticipation, a dangerous mixture of horror and curiosity. What do you mean? A chef shouted, his bravado faltering. What is happening? I hunger. The voice resonated through the penthouse, laced with something sinister. You've entertained yourselves, but the true dish is yet to be served. Gasps echoed, rippling through the crowd. A powerful wave of dread rolled over them, as they began to realize the night was not merely an extravagant party but a staging ground for something unfathomable. Mia felt the electric charge prick her skin, a realization dawning within her. Amid the chaos, she sensed that the strange connection she felt was not coincidence. She had opened a door, and the dishwasher, this cursed contraption, had something far more malevolent waiting behind it. Drifting back from the machine, the crowd turned their terrified eyes toward Mia, their initial disbelief fading. Was she the key to unlocking whatever horror lay within? Could they trust her? Outside, the city's lights glimmered innocently, oblivious to the impending doom inside. We need to leave, someone shouted, their voice trembling with fear. But Mia felt rooted in place, staring into the glowing abyss of the dishwasher, a place filled with uncertainty and darkness. What would happen if they chose to confront whatever had awakened? As the shadows grew bolder, they seemed to whisper secrets only Mia could hear. The world outside faded as she took a step closer. There was no turning back from here. And as the voice intensified, daring her to heed its call, it raised a chilling thought. Did she truly wish to know what lay beyond the threshold, or was it already too late? Mia's heart thudded like a frantic drum as she stared at the pulsating machine. The others backed away, panic skittering across their faces. It was as if the shadows themselves had come alive, transforming the once opulent space into something dreadfully alien. We can't just stand here, shouted Marco, the sous chef, his voice trembling. His eyes darted around, searching for an escape. This isn't some mystery dinner theater. But Mia shook her head, feeling an unyielding pull. What if it has something we need? We have to see. The fear radiating from her peers was palpable, but a flicker of something deeper ignited inside her. What if she could unlock a truth that had been lurking all along? The dishwasher, now seeming to breathe with a life of its own, spoke again, its tone both inviting and chilling. Do not fear, dear guests. The feast begins anew. Witness my appetite vicariously or otherwise. As if sensing their collective dread, the appliance burst open, unleashing a billowing cloud of steam that engulfed the room. The sound of squealing metal echoed as hidden compartments slid open, revealing gleaming utensils and sinister, glinting objects. What in God's name? Gasped Linda, one of the pastry chefs, her usually serene face warped in horror. From the depths of the steaming insides, something shimmered faintly, a dark liquid swirling within an elegant glass jar. Confusion twisted in Mia's gut. What is that? She murmured, stepping closer as if she were a moth drawn to a flame. It seemed to pulse with an energy of its own, alive, hungry, dangerous. Stop! Marco yelled, grabbing her arm. We're not playing a game here. We need to, it's too late. The voice echoed from the machine, and suddenly, the air crackled. The lights flickered, plunging the room into brief darkness before casting eerie, flickering shadows again. The oppressive atmosphere thickened. Mia felt the tension coil tighter. Each chef's face reflected a mix of fear and morbid fascination, like deer caught in the bright light of an oncoming truck. The voice, deep and resonant, continued. You have feasted on lavish meals. Now it's time to taste the essence of true culinary desire, or perish as mere shadows of your ambitions. Mia's heart raced, but something deeper began to bubble up, an instinct to confront the terror head-on. We have to understand. We have to take a risk. Suddenly, a high-pitched wail cut through the air, a shattering scream from Linda, who had dared to edge closer. She stumbled back, hand to her throat, her face contorting in horror as she stumbled against the countertop, eyes fixed in terror at the dishwasher. It's alive! The nightmare hung thick in the air, the chaos now spiraling into a frenzy. Guests clamored, their panic igniting, shoving and scrambling for the exits. The laughter that had once echoed in this space was now replaced by raw, desperate screams. Mia felt paralyzed. She wanted to help Linda, to reach out and pull her away, but her feet felt like they were glued to the ground. A cold sensation wrapped around her spine. What was she supposed to do? And just as the cacophony reached a breaking point, the machine let out a laugh, a deep, booming sound that reverberated around them. Not everyone will leave tonight. Not everyone deserves to feast. The walls seemed to close in, the very air growing heavy. In that moment of shared terror, Mia caught a glimpse of the dark jar within the dishwasher, and a voice whispered in her mind, echoing the earlier invitation, "Join me." As the crowd surged toward the exits, Mia's decision teetered on the brink of chaos. Did she fight back against this dark allure, or would she embrace it, diving headfirst into the mystery that lay within? The world outside continued spinning, unaware of the horrors unfolding within the penthouse. And as she hesitated, the shadows flickered ominously, waiting for her answer. What would she choose in the face of insatiable hunger? Mia's heart raced, the thunder of chaos battling against her instincts. Crowds pushed past her, faces twisted with terror, shouting for safety. But something deeper rooted her. Like a vine crawling up her legs, the machine's sinister promise burned in the back of her mind. Are you crazy? Don't you see what it's doing? Marco's voice cut through the fog. He gripped her arm tightly, pulling her back toward the exit, but in that moment Mia's breath caught in her throat. The jar glimmered, its dark liquid almost beckoning, whispering secrets of flavors unknown. Help her! Mia yelled, forcing her eyes away from the jar and back to Linda, who was still gasping for breath. Her face was pale, eyes wide with horror. She staggered, words tumbling out in panic. It moved. It shifted. Something inside. She clawed at her throat, gasping as if the very air was choking her. Come on, let us get her out of here. Marco shouted again, just as a crisp snap echoed from the dishwasher. The audience froze, eyes fixated on the swarm of utensils now hovering dangerously mid-air, glinting like knives ready to strike. Fools, the machine's voice thundered, deep and unyielding. You cannot escape once you've tasted the hunger. Floating spoons and forks began to swirl around them like a storm. Take it! Mia's gut twisted as she realized her own desire. The jar, we need it. Have you lost your mind? Marco snapped, wrenching her arm again. The air around them grew thick and heavy, like soup, every moment stretched painfully longer. But curiosity outweighed caution, and with every pull backward Marco made, the shadows behind Mia urged her forward toward the swirling chaos of the dishwasher. Linda needs us, she insisted, casting a quick glance at Linda, whose eyes were wide and wild, filled with a mix of fear and desperation. As if on cue, the kitchen lights flickered violently, one by one extinguishing, leaving only the glow from the ominous machine. A cacophony of screams filled the air, pure terror echoed in a symphony of panic. With a fierce determination, Mia pulled her arm free and lunged toward the appliance. I'll get the jar! She shouted, ignoring the dread spiraling in her stomach. No! It's a trap! Marco yelled, but the words were drowned out by a deafening roar from the machine. There was no turning back. The dark jar pulled at her, and she felt her fingers reach for its cold surface, every nerve ending sparking with energy. Just as her fingertips brushed against the glass, a surge of heat rushed through her, and something exploded from the dishwasher, catching the attention of all. Out erupted a cloud of sparks, burning hot, swirling toward the chefs like embers in a breeze. Eyes wide, Mia grasped the jar tightly. It felt alive, its contents moving, pulsing with an energy that threatened to consume her. From behind her, horrified whispers danced like ghosts, the scattered chefs frozen in time. Mia's gaze flicked to Linda. The perspiration on her brow glistened under the dim, flickering lights. She looked desperate, but also hungry. As if the shadows were urging her to take hold of the truth within reach. "What's wrong with you?" Marco shouted, his voice raw with fear, but Mia could barely hear him over the chaotic symphony of clattering dishes and rattling metal. The machine roared with a dark glee. "Choose your flavors wisely, for they shall shape your fate." Fate? The word dripped with an unsettling promise, sending chills racing down Mia's spine. She clenched her jaw, feeling the weight of the entire room's eyes, stuck in a moment of collective denial. And then, with a breath of resolve, Mia hurled the jar into the air. "Catch!" she yelled, hoping against hope. But no one moved. They remained enraptured by the swirling lights and the haunting voice that now echoed in her ears. The jar shattered against the floor, dark liquid spewing everywhere, a shadowy cloud rising to engulf them all. Suddenly, the laughter stopped, silence fell, a void of anticipation. Instead of panic, a mesmerizing calm washed over the chaos, the darkness swirling like a vortex. "What have we done?" Marco breathed, eyes wide, thick with disbelief. And in that moment, the ground beneath them trembled, a deep rumble resonating as if the very heart of the machine had awakened. Mia's body tensed, heart pounding, as a chilling thought crept into her mind. What if they had unknowingly unleashed something far worse than they could comprehend? The shadows danced closer, the darkness vibrating with unseen energy. And with a final glance at her frozen colleagues, Mia wondered if the machine was just a tool of destruction or if it held the key to something they had yet to understand. As a deep, resonant voice echoed once more, "Welcome to the true feast," and her entire world shifted. Mia realized the night was just beginning. What had they unleashed? Would any of them make it out, or had they already crossed a line they couldn't return from? Mia's heart thundered in her chest, the darkness swirling around her like a living entity. The shattered glass lay glimmering on the floor, and the dark liquid spread out, creeping across the tiles like sinister vines. She felt a surge, an electrifying pull from the puddle as if it were alive and beckoning her to come closer. "Get away from there!" Marco screamed, his voice rising above the disarray, but Mia felt paralyzed, rooted to the spot. The chaos around them dissolved into a hushed murmur, voices fading as the waves of darkness enveloped her senses. An intoxicating scent wafted up, sweet and savory, something beyond her wildest cravings, pulling at a hunger deep within her. Linda's gasps morphed into chilling laughter, ricocheting off the walls of the kitchen. "We can't leave, Mia! Don't you see? This is our chance." She hadn't just shifted, she was transformed, her eyes shimmering with a manic glint. "No! You don't even know what you're saying!" Marco's voice faltered, the sound heavy with dread as he glanced at Linda, fear morphing his normally confident expression into something fragile. But the machine vibrated with power, amplifying the dark energy that now felt almost sentient. "Taste the freedom of flavor!" It boomed, echoes reverberating into every corner, saturating the air with an electrifying anticipation. Panic gave way to a shared fervor, the chefs now unable to look away from the chaos. The others in the room were mesmerized, swirls of darkness promising indulgence, secrets they had long yearned for but never realized. They stood still, eyes glazed, lost within their own desires. "Mia!" Marco's face twisted in a mix of anger and desperation, tugging at her arm, trying to pull her back. "We can fight this. We have to leave now." But the shadows whispered sweet nothings, swirling through her mind, drowning out his protests. You desire power, creation, pleasure, the machine continued, weaving its seductive web. Join us. Let the flavors awaken you. With a quick glance towards Marco, Mia felt the fabric of reality stretch around her. She could sense the intoxicating pull to join, to abandon the remnants of her previous self and embrace whatever this darkness had to offer. Yet something deep down fought back. It was that fierce yearning for survival. Stay focused, Mia. Marco's voice broke through her reverie, but it felt fragile, the connection fraying as the shadows twisted around them, growing thicker. This isn't us. We're better than this. Suddenly, a figure darted from the haze, one of the younger chefs, face marked with confusion. He lunged for the machine's power switch, but as he reached out, tendrils of darkness shot from the appliance, striking him down. He writhed on the floor, swallowed by shadows, the only sound a muffled scream. Panic surged through Mia. This was escalating, turning deadly. No! She shouted, her voice clear and fighting against the chaos. We need to fight it. But how? Linda's voice trembled, lurking behind a veil of shadows while still dancing with the madness within. Mia's mind raced, desperate for clarity. If the monster within the appliance fed on their desires, then perhaps the solution lay in the very hunger it created. We have to confront it. Acknowledge it. Marco's eyes sharpened. She could see him calculating the danger. You think that will work? He said, a mix of disbelief and hopeful urgency. We could just listen. Mia interrupted, sensing the machine's pull beginning to slacken. If we accept our darkest cravings, maybe it'll lose its hold on us. We can take back control. Together? Marco asked hesitantly, glancing at the others still enraptured by the swirling shades. Mia nodded fiercely, adrenaline coursing through her as she reached for the remnants of the shattered jar, shards glinting like dangerous jewels. On 3! She shouted, feeling the weight of their lives hanging in the balance. 1. The darkness seemed to tighten around them, sparks igniting a wild energy in the air. 2. Breath held tight in throats, fear mixing with something else, something primal. Awakening. 3. But before they could launch their challenge, the machine shrieked, a sound that pierced their very bones. What if their plan failed? What if the darkness simply consumed them all? Mia's heart pounded wildly as the whispers grew louder. Would they break free, or had they already signed their fates in the dark liquid pooling around them? And as the tides of shadow surged around, it became clear, something far worse than fear was about to emerge, something that sought to confirm just how deeply they had already fallen into the machine's grasp. Would they emerge unscathed, or would they become part of the feast? The moment they screamed 3, all hell broke loose. The machine's shriek pierced through the kitchen, rattling the worn tiles and shaking the very air around them. Mia didn't think, instinct took over. She charged forward, gripping the jagged shards in her hand like a weapon, the razor-sharp edges biting into her palm. We can do this. Her voice surged with a fierce determination that surged through the room. But Marco's face, his dread brought her crashing back to reality. The darkness surged like a tidal wave, surging toward her, each shadow a whisper of temptation laced with danger. She could feel it reaching for her, clawing at the edges of her mind, trying to convince her to embrace the chaos. Not today! She shouted defiantly. Linda's manic laughter cut through the chaos, alarming and infectious. Come on, Mia! Don't you want to taste it? She was lost completely. Her eyes glinted with wild hunger, teasing the dark void swirling beside her. The machine pulsed, feeding off the turmoil, the chaos and its energy intoxicating. A furious flicker erupted in the air. Mia saw Marco's face tighten, a flicker of clarity amidst the spinning shadows, and it stoked a fire inside her. Fight it! Fight for each other! Mia yelled, her voice rising above the chorus of shadows. The young chef laid crumpled on the floor, shadows curling around him, ominous and cruel. The horror jolted the chefs slightly from their stupor. One by one they blinked, the glaze slowly clearing from their eyes. What are we doing? Someone muttered, fear creeping back into their expressions. Marco pulled Mia closer, their bodies almost radiating the tension in the air. Together. Now! Marco barked, focusing on the others, igniting their snuff sparks of resistance. Fight! Remember who you are! Mia thrust the shards toward the machine, almost lost in the maelstrom. You're not consuming us! We refuse! With a thunderous roar, the machine shuddered, the darkness crackling, tendrils retreating as if struck. The shadows recoiled, and for a brief moment, an opening formed a fragile glimpse of freedom. Without thinking, they leaped as one, banishing fear and grabbing hold of that momentary clarity. The lingering shadows lashed out like a frantic predator, desperate to reclaim its prey. But just as hope glimmered, Linda lunged forward, throwing herself into the coils of darkness. No! I want it! She shrieked, laughter devolving into torment. The very fabric of her being was consumed, and her wild screams faded into suffocating silence. Mia's heart dropped. Is this what they faced? She backed away, absorbed in disbelief. Linda, no! Stay together, Marco urged, pulling Mia back, dragging her from the precipice. The air felt thicker now, more charged. They had lost one of their own, but they couldn't give up. Voices surged as the reeling chefs, newly awakened, rejoined the fight. They pulled each other into a circle, a fragile alliance formed against the chaos. We can do this! One shouted, rallying the others, the fear steering into resolve. Yet the machine's growl deepened, a warning echoing through the kitchen. Embrace your desires or suffer! It bellowed, and the pulsating darkness swirled angrily, seeking an opening. Panic poured into the room again, but now it was mixed with unity. They were stronger together. Could they truly face such darkness? With the shards still gleaming, Mia looked around at the beleaguered faces. One more push. Together, she declared, raising her makeshift weapon. As they drew closer, strength and fear clashed in their hearts, the balance hanging by a thread. Just then, the ground shook violently beneath them. A crack tore through the kitchen floor, threatening to swallow them whole. The room roared in protest, echoing their fears. Was this truly the moment of reckoning? Would they stand or fall? Could their combined force break the grip this darkness had over them and reclaim not just their lives, but their very souls, or would they all succumb, joining Linda in eternal shadow? Time stretched, and as the chaos reached a fever pitch, one question clambered to the surface above all the noise: what would it take to break free from the shadows, and at what cost? The ground quaked louder, shattering shards of hope as it tore through their resolve. Mia grimaced, the jagged pieces digging deeper into her skin, but she couldn't let go. The vision of Linda, pulled into that abyss, danced in her mind. Fear clawed at her throat. She could nearly taste it, metallic and bitter. Don't let it win! Marco shouted, eyes wild with urgency. He locked eyes with Mia, and in that instant, they both knew this was a battle for their lives. The shadows writhed with malevolent glee, their dark figures leaping in and out of sight, taunting them. A frantic energy buzzed through the kitchen, as the chefs, now gripped by a mix of fear and determination, formed a tighter circle, their breaths synchronized. Mia felt the pulse of their combined fear, which somehow forged a flicker of defiance. Stand firm. We won't let it consume our dreams, she hollered. Still, the machine's brash growl echoed ominously. Desire is hunger. And I shall feast. It roared. The shadows surged forward, dark tendrils sliding after each chef like hungry serpents, snaking through the barricade they had formed. Mia felt her heartbeat quicken, each pulse a reminder of what they were fighting for. Suddenly, a horrifying screech erupted from the machine, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. It was as if darkness itself was experiencing agony. The lights flickered and dimmed, shadows growing and retreating, creating an eerie dance. What is happening? One chef gasped, flinching as the very walls trembled. Focus! Marco's voice broke through the confusion. It's afraid of us, but we must harness that fear. Use it! Channel it! Mia closed her eyes for a brief second, conjuring every ounce of love she could muster, for her parents, for her lost mentor, for the reality she craved away from this nightmare. We are here! We are whole! She screamed, opening her eyes as the shards glinted in the dim light, wild and sharp as hope. A low rumble echoed as the darkness recoiled once more. At that moment, a blinding light erupted from the center, a raw, brilliant surge of energy connecting each of them. Mia could feel it crackling in the air around her like 1,000 fireflies awakening. "Push with us!" someone shouted, and they surged forward, every voice lifting in a primal scream. Their unified force crashed against the miasma of shadows, pushing back like the dawn driving away night. But just as the tide seemed to turn, the machine screeched a final, desperate sound, and a wave of darkness collided with them. It felt like ice water splashed against their skin, recoiling against the heat of their resolve. "You think you know your desires? I'll show you what true pain feels like," it bellowed, and an overwhelming wave of despair flooded the room. Mia's heart raced. She doubled over as memories flashed before her, seconds of vulnerability, of anguish. She saw her past failures, the missed opportunities. Each flicker threatened to drown her in a tide of regret. "No! I want to fall!" she cried, pushing back against the shadows of her own making. The darkness twisted, coiling tighter around them, mocking their efforts. It seeped into their minds, exploiting every insecurity. One chef broke away, mumbling incoherently, consumed by that tantalizing darkness. "Mia!" Marco reached for her, but she felt the weight of despair anchoring her down. "Fight it! We need each other!" With every ounce of strength she had, she pulled herself back to the present. "Remember why we fight." The kitchen flickered once more, the lights dimming dangerously low, yet within that shadow threatened to trap them, she felt a small ember of hope ignite again. Hearts collided with purpose, and with one mighty push, they surged as one. "Together!" they shouted, their united voices cutting through the darkness, and in the deafening roar, Mia couldn't shake the lingering question lingering in her mind. What if uniting wasn't enough? What if the shadows were only the beginning? The shadows screamed as their collective voice clashed against the kitchen's newfound light. Mia felt an electric charge singing through her veins, a reminder that they were more than just chefs, they were a family, a united force against the tide of darkness threatening to engulf them. Each heartbeat synced with the others, creating a rhythm of resilience. "More! Push harder!" Marco yelled, urgency etched in his every word. The machine, now shrieking in fury, began to tremble, as if sensing its impending defeat. Yet, with every inch they gained, the dark tendrils shrieked louder, striking viciously at the walls that once were their sanctuary. The kitchen felt alive, the very air crackling with a mixture of dread and hope. Suddenly, an icy mist surged from the machine, swirling like a tempest. Mia inhaled sharply as her chest tightened. The temperature in the room plummeted, frost creeping up her arms, turning their momentum into sluggish muck. The walls around them shook, and she felt the spirits of their past failures rushing back, clawing at the very edges of her mind. "No! We are not done yet!" she roared, forcing her voice to rise above the chaos. She swirled the ember of hope within her. It burned fiercely, refusing to be extinguished. "Remember the love! Remember us!" A flicker of doubt flickered across some of the chefs' faces as the mist closed in, lacing their fears in chilling contexts. "Can we truly overcome it?" one chef murmured, his voice barely audible over the din. "We have to. We owe it to ourselves." Mia shot back, desperation tinging her words. "This isn't just a nightmare. It's our chance to rewrite our stories, to take back the joy this machine has stolen." With her words igniting a flame in their hearts, they huddled closer. Mia felt the waves of energy coursing through the circle, weakening the machine's grip. The shadows around them seemed to shudder, almost retreating in fear of the truth they were wielding. "Look!" Marco shouted, pointing at a crack forming in the monumental machine. It radiated light, a stark contrast to the enveloping darkness. The light pulsed, inviting them to take one final step forward. "We can do this! Follow me!" Taking a deep breath, Mia acknowledged the flicker of fear in her gut that reminded her of everything that had been lost. She couldn't let that fear dictate her actions. Not now. Not ever again. As they surged together toward the crack in the machine, shadows recoiled in rage. The jagged edges of the fissure glowed brighter, a beacon of hope promising escape from this abyss. But as they neared the glowing light, the machine's voice transformed, smooth and eerily calm. You think you can escape? I will always find you. Your sins will follow. Mia felt a chill wash over her. The realization hit hard. This darkness wasn't just an enemy. It was also a reflection of their pasts and regrets. With each step they took, it gnawed at their very souls, reminding them of failures they wished to forget. Mia! Let us go! Marco shouted, his hand reaching for hers as the crack radiated warmth amongst the chilling despair. Don't you see? We can break this cycle together. Just as they stepped into the light, a deafening roar exploded from the machine. It thrashed wildly as if fighting against its own demise. The shadows twisted back, forming a vortex that threatened to pull them in. Mia felt its pull, a visceral tug at her legs. Panic shot through her. We can't let it win. In a heartbeat, she squeezed Marco's hand tighter, his warmth anchoring her. Together, they took a breath, summoning every ounce of strength they had left. Their cries mingled, fueled by defiance and love. And then, just as they were about to cross the threshold, the light flickered violently. The crack writhed as shadows surged once more, eager for revenge. What would happen next? Would the shadows unravel their victory? The moment hung heavy in the air, charged with uncertainty. No one knew who might emerge unscathed. Their world trembled, and the kitchen became an echo chamber of clashing forces. As the light dimmed, one question reverberated in their minds: could they truly sever the chains of the past, or was the darkness too powerful to escape? The crack in the machine pulsed wildly, a heartbeat of chaos as Mia and the chefs held their ground. Just a few steps from the light, they felt the shadows clawing at their backs, a cold dread creeping into their thoughts. Every whisper of the darkness seemed to breathe, to taunt them. Don't look back. Keep moving, Marco urged, his voice cutting through the tension. But in that moment, doubt rooted deep. What if they succeeded only to face a harsher reality? What if there was nothing on the other side but more pain? With a sharp inhale, Mia pushed those thoughts away. They were all entering that light together. They had no room for fear now. In unison, they surged forward, a band of warriors ready for battle. Just as they reached the precipice, the machine roared, the sound echoing like a thunderclap, drowning out their cries. Then the shadows twisted violently, forming whips that lashed out, striking at the chefs like serpents in the dark. Mia felt one brush past her ankle, icy and relentless. Move! Marco shouted, grabbing her wrist. We have to take the leap now. With raw determination, they jumped into the light. A brilliant flash engulfed them. Mia felt weightless, caught in a whirlwind of emotion: fear, hope, disbelief. The light was blinding but warm, wrapping around her like a protective embrace. Then suddenly time splintered. She found herself in a dimly lit room, the smell of burnt food mingling with something else, something rotten. She glanced around, breath hitching in her chest, and her heart sank. They were back in the kitchen, just a different version of it. Heavy shadows loomed in the corners, still gnawing at the vibrant spirit that had once filled the space. The machine loomed ominously, its edges jagged and tempestuous. What just happened? One of the chefs gasped, disbelief etched on her face. I thought we were free. Another shouted, panic rising in his voice. Mia looked at the others, her heart racing. What if this is another trap? The shadows curled around them, drawn by the weight of their anguish and uncertainty. They felt it again, that familiar tug of negativity, the shadows feasting on their doubts like a feast laid out before them. It can't be. We broke the cycle. We can't let it take us again. Marco shouted, his eyes glinting with fierce determination. But the shadows laughed, a chilling, bone-deep sound that seemed to resonate from the very walls. You think escape is that simple? You carry your darkness with you. It's all you've ever known. Mia clenched her fists, determination surging through her. No! We're more than our past. We have each other. But the tendrils of darkness twisted closer, whispering venomous lies, reminding each chef of their most painful failures, every mistake that had ever haunted them. Suddenly, a strange sound cut through the air, a soft humming that felt almost comforting. It was the light from before, flickering weakly at the edge of the kitchen's gloom. Hope surged within her again. It was a heartbeat familiar, echoing the unity they once shared. "Remember," she urged, her voice steady and strong. "We have the choice to remember our love, to fight." The kitchen trembled as the shadows lunged, desperate to sink their icy tendrils into their hearts. But just outside the swirl of darkness, the glimmer of light hung tantalizingly close, beckoning like an old friend. "Together!" Mia cried, and they all reached for the flickering light. As they closed the distance, a searing pain shot through her chest, and Mia stumbled. The shadows grasped her with icy fingers, a chilling reminder of their presence. "Don't let go!" Marco yelled, his voice straining as he felt the pull. "We're stronger than this!" she shouted, her breath ragged. But the shadows swirled violently around them, almost consuming her. Just then, the light pulsed harder, flaring with golden energy that momentarily illuminated the encroaching darkness. It felt like a battle between worlds, a clash of light and shadows. They were at a deadlock. Could they truly break free? Or would they be forever chained to their fears? In that moment of desperation, they all pushed toward the light, helplessly aware of the darkness clawing to reclaim what it had lost. Yet, as Mia leaned into the warmth, she realized the path wasn't just about the light, it was about the bonds they shared, the love that had grown between them in the kitchen. And suddenly, the truth struck her hard. If they wanted to escape not just in body, but in spirit, they would have to face the shadows within themselves. But could they do it? As the shadows lunged, ravenous for their fears, Mia felt the kitchen shake beneath them. The choice loomed like a sword over their heads. Was the light worth the fight, or were they bound to sink back into the cold, consuming dark? The answer lingered just out of reach, a mystery swirling in the air as the chaos erupted around them. The chaos crashed like a wave, threatening to drown them in despair as the shadows coiled tighter. Mia grasped Marco's hand, their palms slick with sweat, a symbol of their connection tangled in a battle against the abyss. The darkness loomed, swirling with memories of regret, the weight of failures anchoring their spirits, but within that grip, a flicker of defiance ignited. "Remember why we fight!" Mia shouted above the tempest, her voice cutting through the dissonance. The others echoed her rallying cry, pushing against the tendrils that sought to snuff out their hope. Each chef's unique light sparked anew, illuminating their collective strength. It was raw, fierce, and electric, a force they had never tapped into before. The shadows shrieked, furious at their resilience. "You cannot escape your nature!" they bellowed, and the kitchen quaked, threatening to collapse under the onslaught. But Mia felt something shift, the grasp of despair loosening as they stepped together into the flickering light, their combined energies creating a shimmering barrier of hope. With one swift motion, they lunged toward the pulsating glow, fueled by the truth they shared, their love for food, the artistry of their craft, the bond formed beneath the pressure of ambition and challenge. As they reached the heart of the light, it enveloped them in warmth, dissolving the dread clawing at their minds. A brilliant explosion of radiance burst from the connection, cascading through the kitchen like sunlight breaking over a stormy horizon. The shadows screeched in agony, retreating at the power of their unity, melting away like mist under the sun, and in that moment, the darkness unveiled its own fear. The chefs were more than just chefs. They were warriors bonded by passion, by the love of creation, each one embodying the very essence of life and desire. As the shadows evaporated, the kitchen transformed, light filling the once ominous space. The machines that had felt like instruments of doom were now just machines again, their aura of despair lifted. The tension unraveled. The air was vibrant, buzzing with life once more. Mia felt lighter, freer. She turned to Marco, whose eyes gleamed with relief and pride. "We did it," she breathed, a smile breaking across her face, igniting a spark in the hearts of everyone around her. "Together," he echoed, joy breaking the shackles of fear they had carried for so long. The others who had fought alongside them, chefs who had once shared the glory of their culinary crafts, exchanged glances of disbelief, gratitude, and awe. They had faced their shadows and emerged reborn. The whispers of despair faded, and laughter from deep within their bellies bubbled up, shattering the remnants of dread that lingered. Mia looked at her colleagues, knowing they would carry this victory beyond the kitchen. They wouldn't just be chefs in a bustling city. They would be storytellers, creators of joy, pushing boundaries together. "Let us celebrate our rebirth," she exclaimed. "To the feast we truly deserve." As they gathered, sharing stories, laughter, and platters of new dishes bursting with flavor, the old darkness faded. They remembered what it meant to create forged from love, struggle, and resilience. They were a family now, and every recipe they cooked would be a testament to their bond. With the first glow of dawn creeping through the kitchen windows, Mia looked out at the awakening city. It felt fresh, a new beginning. They had not only conquered the shadows, they had reclaimed their identities, passions, and the very heart of their culinary spirit. And as they savored the feast together, Mia knew this was just the start. Make it count, she thought to herself, because they had tasted both darkness and light and chosen the path of creativity, together. No more shadows and no more fear. Just the promise of a new day. And as you sit with this thrilling conclusion, don't let the adventure stop here. You need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive story. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. I want to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your participation makes all the difference in keeping this community alive.